So there's no doubt that in El Paso, the housing market in 2021 had the same trend of home values increasing, the lack of inventory, and also bidding wars. And also, we even rode a wave of historic low interest rates as low as 2.5%. But also towards the tail end of 2021, there was this anticipated rate increase, which is what we're experiencing now with the interest rates being above 3%. So with that said, let's analyze some data of the most interesting things that happened in the El Paso housing market in 2021. So El Paso can pretty much be partitioned up into sections based on where you're at in reference to the Franklin Mountains. So you're either on the west side of town, the northeast, central, downtown, east side, far east side, lower valley as well. And not to forget the outskirts towns that are also part of El Paso. So in each side of town, there's certain niche communities, and I was analyzing to see who had the fastest price per square foot growth in the year of 2021. Now, in analyzing this data, I found that the subdivision Kern Place had the highest price per square foot, which is at $176 per square foot, which is significantly higher than the rest of El Paso, which is sitting at $115 per square foot. Now, if you don't know where Kern Place is at, it sits right underneath the Franklin Mountains in the west central side of El Paso. And even though many of these homes are actually 100 years old, the community just takes pride in their upkeep and also the curb appeal. And the style of these homes range from the Spanish colonial type of a home to a Parthenon type of exterior. And the perks about this community is that there's not much through traffic, so it really lends itself to walking or running and really enjoying the scenery of El Paso. And really, it's no surprise that the home values have increased so much in 2021. Another interesting thing that happened within this subdivision is I was analyzing the homes that were under 1,200 square feet to see what their price per square foot was. And I found one particular home that is about 1,100 square feet, and it's sold for $199 per square foot. Now, this really goes to show what kind of impact a home selling in your community has on the value of your home. Now, as I mentioned before, Kern Place has an average price per square foot of $176 per square foot. Now, if you take a look at this particular home that sold for $199 per square foot, it's really pulling that value of that subdivision more and more and more. So if you find yourself in this subdivision and you have a home that's near about 1,100 square feet, this is really going to pull that value of your home higher and higher. Now let's jump in a little bit deeper into the data and analyze the homes sold in 2019 versus 2021. Now this graph I created, but pulling the data from our association, which is the Greater El Paso Association of Realtors. But if we take a look at this graph, you'll see in 2019, that's your blue line, your red line's 2020, and your yellow line is 2021. Now, if you look at 2019 in January and February, it starts off pretty low, but you start getting into your warmer seasons and you start seeing a more of an increase and start seeing more of, basically a lot more homes are selling throughout the year. You start getting into August and September, you start taking a little bit more of a dip, right? So that's been a natural trend that has happened before COVID, before 2019. The colder seasons, it's a little bit slower. You start getting into the warmer seasons, it goes up. You start getting into your colder season, it starts getting, a little bit slower now. Now, if you notice in 2020, which is a red line, in January and February, it starts creeping up, but then in March, between March and June, you just see just a dip in the home sold, because that was during COVID year and we really didn't know what was going to happen. But if you start noticing after that, it just started shooting up. The interest rates started dropping. A lot more people wanted to buy homes. There was lack of inventory. And as a result, you start seeing that this red line just starts outworking and outperforming 2019 significantly, right? But let's take a look at 2020. Immediately, we start off at a better, home sold in January and February compared to 2019. We increase just like it normally does in the warmer seasons. And you start noticing that it actually takes a dip, but just not as a significant dip that it did in 2019 and even in 2020. So there was a misconception that was going on before that the housing market or this seller's market that we're going through was actually gonna, burst, or it's gonna come to a complete halt. And the truth is that this is just a normal pattern that happens throughout the year. So because people were starting to see maybe not as many offers being submitted on a home, and they started thinking that because we were seeing this dip, people started thinking, oh, the seller's market just going to be completely gone, right? It's going to start going more to a neutral market or a buyer's market. But we can see here on the data that it did take a dip, but not a significant dip as it has traditionally before COVID, but it's just a normal dip that happens during the colder seasons. Now let's jump into the average sales price comparing 2019 with 2021. In 2019, the average sales price was $170,000. And compared to 2021, the average sales price is $222,000, which is a significant jump, $32,000 over the span of about 2 to 3 years. But let's take it a step further. Let's analyze what the rent was in 2021 versus what the monthly payment is for a home that's worth $222,000. So a home that's worth $222,000, the monthly payment for an interest rate that's about 3.25 is about $1,660. And that average square footage is about 1,900 square feet, just a little bit under. Now, if I'm comparing apples to apples, if I go to the rent side and look at the data that's between 1,800 square feet and 1,900 square feet, the average monthly rent is about $1,560. So you can see there's just a $100 gap between the two. Now, I know at this point it would be so easy for me to say that it's better for you to rent than it is to buy because there's only a $100 gap. But really, I think the hard part right now is really coming down with the down payment, and just the affordability is really what the issue is right now. Whereas if you compare it to like the 1960s, 1970s, people were able to purchase a home with just about 3 months worth of salary and just move into a home. Whereas now, because we are in a seller's market, you have your down payment, you have your closing costs, you have all these other fees that are significantly higher than what it was, in like the 1960s, 1970s, as I mentioned earlier. But just so that this can make a little bit more sense of how it was before, like in about 1960, 1970s, let's take a look at this graph that was provided by American Community Surveys. And in this graph, you'll see in 1960s, 1970s, the blue line represents the median house price. The yellow line represents the gross rent per month, and also the red line represents the household income. So as you can see, they're all pretty much jumbled up together, which basically means that the affordability is great at this point, And as time is going by, you start seeing that median house price start increasing to the point where we're at now. And just a little side note, in 2018, that's when we had the housing crash. But you can still see even in 2017, just the difference between this household income and your median price has just increased in gap. The gap has just increased so much that at this point is just extremely difficult for us to get into a home because of the different fees that are included, as I mentioned before, like your down payment, your closing costs. And I know looking at this can be extremely discouraging. While I recommend for you to save for your down payment, there are other options that you can take if you're absolutely wanting to buy a home right now. There's other options for you to explore, other programs for you to explore with the lender. There's some down payment assistance programs that you can use, and other bonds that can help you with the closing costs or even the down payment. Just to let you know, there is a give and take here. So if you do borrow money in order for you to be able to put the down payment, what happens is your interest rate is going to shoot up so that you can have that down payment, right? So that's a give and take. Now, one last thing that I wanted to discuss are expired listing. What an expired listing pretty much is that they were given a certain time frame for a home to be sold, and that time frame passed, the home was not sold. And there could be various reasons. I've noticed that it comes down to 4 reasons why a home doesn't sell. So it could be the price, it could be the condition of the home, it could be the marketing, and it can also be the location of the home. Now, there's really not much that we can do with the last one, with the location of the home. So it's really the first 3 that are the determining factors whether your home sells or not. Now, let's take a look at this graph so that we can see what's going on between 2019, 2020, and 2021. So if you notice the blue line, which represents 2019, that one you can see immediately right from the get-go in January, we had significantly more homes expire or not sell within the certain given time frame than any year compared to 2021 and 2020. If you look towards the tail end on December, the reason that you see such a high spike is because whenever people list a home, whenever realtors list a home, a lot of times what they do is they put their expiration date, the last day that the home can be sold, of December 31st. But just comparing 2019 to 2020, you start seeing that in 2020 it just significantly started dropping around the time of June, which is around the time where the market just started reversing into a seller's market, and the homes just started coming off the market significantly. Now, and going into 2021, it even lower, right? We started having less homes expire. But the thing is that you start to wonder, why are homes still expiring when we're in a seller's market? Which brings me to another point. So if you're planning on selling your home can still sit on the market and not sell because of those 3 reasons. Now, The first one, I've noticed that's the biggest reason why a home is not selling. Now, as a real estate agent, I do want to net the most that I can for my clients that are thinking about selling their home. So whenever you see the market value, I may try to push it up just a little bit, but not at the expense of it sitting in the market like these homes have and basically, unable to sell. So at the end of the day, yes, it's a seller's market, but always be conscious about what your home is being listed at. Is it at market value? Is it significantly above? Because you may be missing all these buyers that are wanting to put offers and may even want to put offers above asking price to the point where you actually want to list it at. So always be conscious of where the market is at. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to my 2021 market update. If you would like to digest some more content, feel free to click on some of the videos that I have here, or even if you want to get a hold of me or schedule an appointment, go ahead and go to the description below.